All right, this video just focuses on sort of like the generic setup of Congress. This corresponds to the first page of your guided notes packet. So, Congress is really divided into a term. So, every term of Congress, and this is not to be confused with like the term of a member of the House or a term of the member of the Senate. We're talking about Congress as a whole. We break Congress up into 2 year cycles called terms. And each of those terms is broken into 2 1 year sessions. And we do this because the House of Representatives does get potentially, it could reset every 2 years because the House has to be reelected in its entirety every 2 years. So when we look at Congress, we look at Congress as a whole in a 2 year cycle. And that's a term of Congress. And each one of those years is referred to as a session. So we have consecutively numbered all of the Congresses from like the very beginning. And every 2 years, we give Congress a new number. So currently, we are looking at the 117th Congress. They took over in January of 2021, and they'll basically end in January of 2023. And that's because next November, right, November of 2022, we have like what are called the midterm elections, in which the entire House of Representatives stands for reelection. Right, most of them will probably win reelection, but some of them won't. And because that could change, we essentially renumber Congress. So starting January of 2023, we'll have the 118th Congress. So the current Congress is the 117th. And just by giving each Congress like this number, this allows us to kind of compare one Congress to another and how many laws did the 117th Congress pass compared to like the 86th Congress or something like that. Uh, the other piece of like general information is there is an amendment that's kind of related to like congressional terms, and that's the 20th Amendment, which was ratified in 1933. This moved the start time for a new term from March to January. So, like, what does that mean? So initially, I mean, always in our country's history, election day has been in November. But initially, when members of Congress, and this is the president too, the 20th Amendment relates to both Congress and the president. But initially, when members of Congress were elected, like the president, they would be elected in November, but they wouldn't take over until March. And that created a pretty messy situation in which there were people that like lost elections that held the position from November to like March. In political terms, we refer to a politician that is like voted out of office but has to continue to do the job until the new person is ready to take over as a lame duck, right? Kind of a funny sounding term, but that's the terminology to describe a politician that like soon is not going to have the job, but like kind of has to keep it until like the new person can kind of come in. So the 20th Amendment acknowledged that that was just too much of a gap between electing the new politicians and like waiting for them to start over. That it just made this like awkward in between sort of like time period. So basically what happens now is we just move the start time up till January. So election day is still in November, but now the new congressional people take over in January, and they don't have to wait until March to like have this new term kick in. And that just again reduces this awkward period between like the election time and when the new people like start over.